Hey folks, I just want to talk about yesterday's Apple WWDC event. They introduced various operating system updates: iOS 14, iPadOS 14, their phone or their Apple Watch OS, and their Apple TV OS, and their Mac operating system. I'm using their iPad Pro, their 2018 iPad Pro 12.9 inch, and I don't think I'll ever buy their MacBook or Mac line of computers ever again. I mean, I started off with the Mac Mini way back when in 2006 and upgraded to like a MacBook Pro. I had the 27-inch iMac in 2017, 2015. I think I had 3 MacBook Pros. The last one I bought was in 2013. It was the early 2013 MacBook Pro. And that was the last MacBook Pro I bought. And then I bought the iMac, the 27-inch in 2015. And then in 2019, last year, I bought the iPad Pro. And the reason I say I'll never buy another Mac computer is because of the price. It is overwhelmingly overpriced for what you get. And you cannot replace or upgrade any parts since everything is soldered on, except for the Mac Pro, which here in Canada starts at $6,500, I think, and goes all the way to $100,000 before tax if you max it all out, or close to $100,000. For everything that I need to do, the iPad Pro is everything you need. Yeah, I do a lot of photography and video editing. I upload basically to places like Adobe Stock and Pond 5, and with the processing power of the iPad Pro, it's more than enough. The actual limitation of the iPad hardware is iPadOS. I just hope this year's release, iPadOS 14, isn't a shit show like it was last year with iPadOS 13. I think they had 7 to 10 updates in the first 2 months of the release of iPadOS 13. I mean, it was buggy. Like, seriously, there was problems everywhere. But now, with was it 13.5.1, it's solid. There's still some issues with the OS, but I'm happy with 95% of what I can do with the OS, with the apps. I hope with Apple switching from Intel to their own ARM chips, that they'll be able to bring software like Final Cut Pro to the iPad. And I hope, I don't know if it's going to happen, that they do bring Final Cut Pro X to the iPad. Probably not. They want to keep selling their Mac line of computers. But I hope that Audacity brings their audio editing software onto the iPad Pro. I mean, I don't really need Final Cut Pro. I use LumaFusion to edit all my videos, and editing 4K video on the iPad is absolutely not a problem. I don't shoot 4K mainly, especially on my Canon PowerPoint or PowerShot G7X Mark III, I use 1080p 60 frames a second just because of the file sizes, and that is the limitation I do not like of the iPad Pro or the iPad line of computers from Apple. I hope the next version, whether it's released this year or next, with iPad OS 14 and new ARM chips, that you can upgrade or have bigger storage options on the iPad. I think, well, terabytes the maximum now, but if they can use the 2 terabyte or the 4 terabyte with maybe 8 gigs of RAM. I mean, the 2020s all have 6 gigs, and from what I see, well, with the editing that I do, 4 gigs is more than enough to edit my 85 megapixel A7R2, my Sony A7R2 photos. I shoot uncompressed RAW, so they're about 85 to 86 megabytes in size. I watched the presentation yesterday, or the last 40-45 minutes. I missed the first 15. There was really nothing, I would say, exciting, or nothing to look forward to in the new OS, the iPad OS. I do have the iPhone 11 Pro Max as well. There's really not that many features that make it, how could I put it, worthwhile looking forward to. I guess the picture is probably the biggest thing, but Netflix already does that. I don't know if YouTube does it, but if it's enabled system-wide, that'd be great, especially on the iPad. I'd be able to, answer emails and watch YouTube at the same time, or write and watch YouTube, or whatever. But yeah, there was nothing really, anything that would stand out. There was certainly no hardware info, no new hardware, except that they're switching from Intel to their own ARM processors. But Tim Cook said that they still have, Mac computers with Intel in the pipeline. But who knows? Who knows? Like, Apple is known for pulling shit out in a year or 2 or 3. They even said that their time frame is 2 years to switch their computers to their own ARM chips, and who knows what they're gonna do in the next 2-3 years. I mean, they might switch to AMD. They should have switched to AMD instead of Intel. Intel is garbage, as we say here in Canada or Ottawa. But seriously, there was nothing to look forward to. I mean, I'm looking at MacRumors.com and 9 to 5 Mac. They're slowly coming out with leaks of what's in Mac OS 11. Big Sur. It's not Mac OS X or 10 anymore. It's Mac OS 11 Big Sur. But yeah, there's literally nothing. I still have my early 2013 MacBook Pro, and Big Sur actually will not run on that OS. I booted up my MacBook 2013 last week to edit some photos from 2013 or 2017 when I was on Calgary, and it hurt. It physically hurt to edit a 20 megapixel photo from my Canon EOS 60 that I had back in 2017. With the iPad Pro, like I said, it has no problems editing from my Sony A7R Mark II. So for me, there's actually no point in buying new Apple laptops or desktops. The iPad Pro is extremely mobile. Um, it does, I'd say, 98-99% of the stuff I need to do, mainly photo editing and video editing in LumaFusion, photo editing in Affinity Photo or Pixelmator Photo, and I'm pretty much done with that. That's all I use it for, basically, except for maybe media consumption, watching Netflix, watching YouTube, writing, whatever I need to. I've got my resume stored here. If I need to write anything, Pages. I use the Apple suite of software basically to do timesheets, whatever else, resume, presentations, answering emails, and basically it's basically a multimedia device, editing photos, videos, writing email, and media consumption. Yeah, like I said, there was nothing that caught me, that caught my attention. Probably the best thing was the picture-in-picture, and that's about it.